Picture the moment right before you sign, pen in hand, hovering over the paperwork. You've read every review, watched every comparison, memorized every spec sheet, and none of it is in your hand right now because none of it can tell you what the next 5 minutes will. Research answers questions about the motorcycle. It never answers the only question that matters. Does this motorcycle fit you, your body, your commute, your nerves at a red light? There's a test for that. It won't tell you what to buy. It will tell you in 5 minutes whether to put the pen down. Here's what the spec sheet won't tell you. 2 motorcycles can list seat heights 7 inches apart, and the taller one can be the easier bike to actually handle. The number isn't lying to you, it's just not built to answer the question you're really asking. That's the uncomfortable part of this test. It can't prove a motorcycle is right for you. No 5-minute check can do that. What it can do is expose the warning sign you're already quietly explaining away, the one you've been talking yourself out of since the moment you saw the bike. That's not a small thing. Buyer's remorse rarely starts after the purchase. More often, it starts in the showroom, as a feeling you decided to ignore. Motorcycle mistakes don't usually start with a missed spec. They start with a feeling. Riders fall for the image, the performance, the identity a bike seems to offer, and then quietly explain away everything that doesn't fit. The weight seemed manageable. The riding position would improve with time. The insurance cost could be dealt with later. None of those thoughts feel like warning signs in the moment. They feel like optimism. And optimism doesn't show up on a spec sheet, and it doesn't get corrected by more research. It gets corrected by something that interrupts the emotion long enough to let the facts speak. So if research can't catch the mistake, what can? Not more information. 5 specific minutes, done in the right order, before any money changes hands. Start with the smallest thing there is, your own body on the seat. Sit on the bike, reach for the controls. That is it. And it already starts separating the riders who will feel at home on this motorcycle from the ones who will not. Most buyers judge fit by seat height alone, but seat height is only one side of a triangle. The seat, the handlebars, and the foot controls. And seat width, the bike's weight, its balance, and the rider's own proportions all shape how that triangle actually feels once you are sitting in it. Which is exactly why a low seat can hide a heavy, awkward machine underneath the rider. Take 2 real bikes. A Harley-Davidson Nightster lists a 27.1-inch laden seat height, low enough to sound approachable to almost anyone, but it carries 481 pounds ready to ride underneath that low seat. A Yamaha Ténéré 700 sits around 34.4 inches, a number that looks intimidating on paper. Seat height alone tells you almost nothing about which of those 2 bikes will actually feel more manageable to a given rider. The full picture only shows up once you're sitting on it. Not every problem here is permanent either. Lever position, handlebar angle, some foot controls, and suspension preload can often be adjusted. So the real question isn't just, does this feel uncomfortable? It's, can a technician fix this in an afternoon? Or is this the bike's fundamental shape fighting against my body? That distinction matters because ergonomics only tells you whether you can reach the controls. It says nothing about whether you can use them with confidence once the bike is moving. Which is where the story gets more honest. Walk the bike, do a slow U-turn, bring it to a stop in traffic, hands cold, attention split 3 ways. This is the least glamorous 5 minutes on any test ride. Nobody films their U-turn. But low-speed confidence is often the difference between a motorcycle someone rides every day and one that quietly starts collecting dust in the garage. Here's the math riders tend to underestimate. You'll do dozens of slow, awkward maneuvers, parking lots, stop-and-go traffic, tight turns on a residential street for every 1 moment you actually use a bike's outer limits. When the disadvantage shows up on nearly every ride and the advantage shows up rarely, the appeal starts to lose its footing, no matter how good the bike feels wide open on a Sunday. But a shaky first U-turn doesn't automatically mean the motorcycle is wrong. It might just mean you're unfamiliar with a new bike's balance point. The test isn't whether you nail the first try. It's what happens the 3rd, 4th, 5th time. If the insecurity repeats instead of fading, that's no longer a first impression. That's a pattern. And a pattern of low-speed insecurity is one of the clearest early signs that ownership is going to feel stressful long after the test ride ends. If you've ever walked away from a test ride telling yourself, "I'll get used to it," pause here for a second. That sentence is doing a lot of work. Keep it in mind. We're coming back to it. We started with a static question. Does the bike fit your body sitting still? Now we're asking a dynamic one. Does it fit your confidence in motion? But there's a bigger question neither check can answer. Even if your body fits the bike and you can handle it at low speed, does this motorcycle match the life you're actually going to use it for? This is the check that exposes why riders end up with the wrong bike in the first place. Buyers often choose motorcycles for the rider they imagine becoming, instead of the riding they actually normally do. The adventure bike gets bought for the cross-country trip that happens once a year. The other 350 days are a paved commute where its off-road ability is dead weight. The sport bike gets bought for 3 Saturdays of canyon carving a summer, the other 4 days a week. Its riding position turns a 15-minute commute into a workout. Ask it plainly, out loud. What does this motorcycle do well, and how often will I actually use that? If the honest answer is rarely, the bike's biggest strength is invisible in daily life, while its trade-offs are not. That's where regret quietly builds. This is also the one check where the motorcycle isn't the risk. You are. A friend, a salesperson, a reviewer. None of them know how often you really ride at night, or in traffic, or two up, or on gravel. Only you do. And showroom comfort can hide long-distance discomfort. A bike can feel completely right for the 5 minutes you're sitting on it under fluorescent lights, and completely wrong an hour into the ride you'd actually take it on. Every check so far has been about the ride itself, body, confidence, daily use. But ownership doesn't end when you park the bike. It continues every month, on paper, whether you're riding or not. One phone call can undo everything the first 3 checks confirmed. It's often the fastest check to run and the easiest one to skip because it feels like a formality instead of a test. Get an actual insurance quote before you commit, not a guess. Cost can vary sharply by model, rider, location, coverage, and deductible. 2 riders can buy the identical motorcycle and pay very different amounts to insure it. And if the bike's financed, the lender may require broader coverage than you'd otherwise choose, pushing the real monthly cost well past what the sticker implied. This is where an emotional purchase and a financial reality check finally meet face to face. A motorcycle can pass every physical and practical test and still be wrong the moment the true monthly cost is on the table. But don't treat one quote as the final word either. Maintenance intervals, tire costs, parts availability, and financing terms all sit outside that number. Financial fit tells you whether the purchase is possible right now. It doesn't tell you whether it stays affordable a year in. A quick word before check 5. None of these checks exist because any one dealership is trying to trick you. They exist because a test ride is built, structurally, to sell you the feeling, a short loop on a bike prepped to run perfectly, time to end while the adrenaline's still up. That's not a conspiracy. It's just the format. And it means the burden of catching a bad fit has always been on the buyer, 5 minutes at a time, whether anyone told you that or not. Which brings us to the last check. Not about the motorcycle you're imagining, but the actual machine or the actual dealership relationship sitting in front of you right now. And it splits depending on what you're buying. If it's new, the risk isn't hidden in the machine, it's hidden in the support behind it, service access, and how far you'll travel every time the bike needs work. If it's used, the priorities flip almost entirely. Condition, documentation, the VIN, and any visible signs of neglect move to the front of the line. A standard VIN runs 17 characters, and it is worth checking because VIN-specific recall information is available through NHTSA, meaning you can look up a specific motorcycle's recall history before committing, not after. This check looks backward instead of forward. The first 4 ask whether this motorcycle fits your life going forward. This one asks whether the machine in front of you has already been let down by whoever owned it before. A visual inspection of tires, brakes, leaks, damage, and paperwork can surface real concerns worth walking away from. But it has limits. It can catch neglect. It can't guarantee a future without problems. Step back and look at what just happened. We started at the smallest possible scale, one rider's body on one seat, and ended asking about VIN histories and insurance underwriting. That's not 5 random questions. That's an escalating filter, each one catching a mistake the last one couldn't see. And the checks aren't equal in weight. Some expose problems a wrench can fix, lever position, seat setup, a little practice at low speed. Others expose problems no adjustment will touch. A motorcycle whose core purpose has nothing to do with how you actually ride, or a monthly cost that quietly changes the whole decision. Learning to tell those two categories apart in 5 minutes before any money moves is the entire point. None of this means emotional motorcycle purchases are wrong. Some owners spend heavily modifying a bike that was never really a fit for them, and they're not always making a mistake. A rider can consciously accept discomfort or impracticality because the bike gives them something a spreadsheet can't measure. That's a legitimate choice. The test isn't designed to stop that. It's designed to make sure it's a choice, made with open eyes, instead of a rationalization dressed up as one. Go back to where we started, pen in hand, hovering over the paperwork, months of research behind you. And none of it was ever going to save you, because research answers questions about the motorcycle, and the mistake was never really about the motorcycle. It was about the gap between the bike and your actual life. Here's the mechanism, plainly. 5 minutes of doing beats, months of reading, every time, because doing interrupts the story you've been telling yourself long enough for the facts to get a word in. 5 minutes can't close that gap for you. It was never supposed to. What it does is put the warning signs where you can't explain them away anymore, the reach that doesn't feel right, the U-turn that doesn't get easier, the riding you're imagining instead of the riding you actually do, the quote that changes the math, the history you haven't checked yet. The smartest 5-minute test in motorcycling doesn't tell you what to buy. It gives you reasons to walk away, and if none show up, it gives you something better than confidence. It gives you a decision you can actually stand behind. If this changes how you walk into your next test ride, subscribe. Throttle Insider breaks down the ownership decisions nobody else is honest about.